Okay. So I want to show you guys a photograph. This is gonna spark. This will spark the inspiration for today's practice.
It is.
Yeah.
Just helping.
Yes, even here. So that is Antelope Canyon. And it's near Page, Arizona, which is like the middle of nowhere. It took us 3 hours from Sedona to drive up. And the area is so barren, you know, it's just desert everywhere you look. And anyway, we did the upper canyon. There's an upper and a lower canyon. And the upper canyon is, let me get this right, yeah, narrow at the top, broad at the base. And then the lower canyon is broad at the top and narrow at its base. And the upper canyon is a little bit easier to tour, so we did that one. And evidently you can do both. I didn't realize you can do it both. So we just bought tickets for one. But anyway, it's in the Navajo land. And I didn't even realize that the Navajo Nation was given that name, and it's a Spanish name. I had no idea. Their true tribal name is something like Dinga. Not in the Navajo, but we call them the Navajo Nation, right? And they have like the bunch of land at the four corners where the 4 states meet. And so they actually run the operations behind Antelope Canyon because it's on their property. And so you have someone who's native who's actually taking you to the canyon and taking you through it. And what I loved about it was before we even entered the canyon, the guide stopped us and said, we always take pause before we enter into the canyon because we consider it to be sacred. And we consider it to be a demonstration of the power of Mother Nature. And it's to be treated with reverence. And they were telling us that between May and October, there's oftentimes like flash flood warnings. And whenever there's those flash flood warnings, they have to close down the canyon for it. And back in the 90s, it was not operating at that time. There were 11 foreigners who were hiking in that area and who found the lower Antelope Canyon and went through it without the guide, and they were trespassing on their property. And unfortunately, the floods came and they all perished in the mud. They also told us that 90% of the tourists are not even from the United States. Only 10% of the tourists are actually from this country. And I love that you know about it, and some of the rest of you knew about it because I didn't even know about this place till a few years ago. I had always thought that these formations were in Zion, and I think there may be a couple examples of this in Zion, but when I've been in Zion, I haven't seen it. But anyway, it's beautiful, and it's created from wind, sand, and water. And when you go out west, you really can see how the force of water can carve canyons. I mean, it's a powerful force. All these elements have a power to them. But what I want us to think about, just how the wind and the sand and water has shaped and formed that beautiful canyon, where the sunlight can come in and highlight the stone that's kind of a rusty color, or that gold and orange. It's just beautiful. I want you to think about how this can relate to yoga. And how, if you even look at your life at large, life shapes us. Our experiences shape us. Even you talking about, you know, Chad being an only child, that shapes you in a certain way versus if you have siblings, right? And even if you have siblings, do you fall into the oldest, the middle, or the youngest child? Even that can shape who you are. And I want you to also be contemplative about how yoga is a lot of shape shifting. And we do this for the practice of cleansing and purifying the body and being able to purge some things out and to release some things that we're letting go so that we're cleaning out our house, our vehicle. Also how it maybe cleaned out your heart, cleaned out your mind, cleaned out your spirit. So that's kind of where we're going with our theme today. I want us to be able to stop and take pause intermittently. Because just as they would take pause, hey, come on in, before entering into the canyon, I'm gonna throw in a few yin poses so that you can really stop, drop, pause, and be still in some of the poses. And to see what is being highlighted, right? Just as the sun comes down into the canyon to highlight different spots at different times of the day, notice what's being highlighted in your body, what's being highlighted in your psyche, what's being highlighted, you know, emotionally, perhaps, since yin can bring up emotions. So that's the idea for today's practice. And we'll go ahead and start on our backs. Since this is a gentle class, I would suggest pulling in either blocks underneath your knees or a bolster under your thighs for reclined butterfly. So allowing these props to support you while you're here. And then once you get the lower body settled, figure out what shape you want to create with your arms. Do you want them overhead, which will help to open up the shoulders and chest? Would you rather have the hands resting on your body for some extra grounding? And then once you get settled into stillness, close your eyes. And start to form a relationship with your breath. And create those deep diaphragmatic breaths to start with, since they're calming. And let that pranayama help you to relax and as your breath assists you in relaxation, keep your ears open and just stay contemplative. Considering how life shapes us. The stress we've undertaken from even our earliest years to now. The challenges we face, the obstacles we've overcome, the emotional turmoil, any experiences, the facing of our fears, the ideology we've adopted, the values we hold, the perspectives we carry, even the places where we have traveled, the cultures we've immersed ourselves in, the people we've met, the relationships we've had, all shape us. Consider the losses we've endured, the identification we tend to put on ourselves, even our daily choices and discernment shape who we are. Whether or not we have felt loved, whether or not that love was conditional or unconditional, any pain or suffering have been inflicted upon us, our attitudes, and even our reactions and responses shape who we are. Be with your breath, 3 more rounds. Then when you're ready, draw the knees up and together. And grab a hold of your shins and knees and tuck them into your belly and chest. So you may have noticed with reclined butterfly, you may have noticed a curve in your low back. Maybe a little bit accentuated with that hip stretch. But now we're allowing the low back to lengthen to provide a little space between those lower vertebrae, bringing a little compression to that. Affirming, reduce and release all my scattered forces to rise up and away. Sway on your back from side to side. And then when you're ready, gently turn over to your right side. Push down through that top hand to sit up. And the first thing I want you to do is take your legs out like a V. You don't have to exaggerate it too much. It's too early in the practice anyway. But flex your feet and push down through your thigh bones just to get some activation in those muscles. And then draw the left foot in and then your right foot in front of that. So you're basically in a modified Siddhasana pose. Good. Now take your left arm behind your back and your right arm's going to cup below that. And then give a little boost up to your heart, a little bit more elongation to your neck. And then slightly turn towards your left thigh. Lean over. And if it's okay for your neck, bow your head. Just drooping to this one side and feel free to close your eyes. Notice where you're feeling the work. Maybe it's in your hips, maybe it's your low back, maybe it's your side waist, maybe it's in that right side of your neck. Breathe with depth and control. But it is okay to extend out your exhalations so they're longer in duration than your inhalations. On your next in-breath, gently rock back up so the spine's more erect. And then as you exhale, you're going to lean over to the right. Same idea, just bowing over and down. And free to close the lids of the eyes. Just taking pause in the stretch. And noticing what's being highlighted. Wherever you feel that pull, wherever you feel that sensation, this is where the circulation's becoming more concentrated. Keep the breath flowing. And you may need to engage your core, especially if you're hovering. On your next in-breath, let's gently come all the way back up to the top. Let's release the arms, place the hands out in front of you, and walk them forward and out. Now, at any point along the way, you can pause, right? You can use your arms to be like a shield. If you have the availability, you can come down to forearms or prayer hands. And if you have more flexibility in this area, feel free to sink down to the forehead, all the way down towards the third eye. Notice how you may get a little bit more concentration in that right hip. That usually occurs with the foot that's out in front. And we will be swapping sides eventually.
So I wanted to get some hip openers going in the beginning of the practice, since that relates to the element of water. Remembering we are like 70 to 80% water. On your next inhale, we're gently going to come back up, walking the hands back in. When you walk the hands back in, lean into your palms behind your back so you can stretch out through your legs again. This time we're going to bring the right foot in first, and then the left foot in front of that. Then take the right arm and cross to the sacrum. Left arm cups up underneath. Okay. Yeah, he looked like he was wanting to come in. Lift your heart up, and then exhale. Let's cross over the left thigh. Bowing the head again. But the legs are crossed differently, as well as the arms being crossed differently. And maybe notice the difference between what happened at the start and what's happening in the now. Inhale, rise back up. Exhale, we're coming over to the right. So if this is not good for your neck to bow your head, just keep your neck in line with the rest of your back. Listen to your body. You know your body better than anyone. Inhale, rise to center. Exhale, remove your arms from behind your back, walk it out. Remember, you can pause at any point or continue on your merry way until you find that edge where you can still openly and comfortably breathe. It's when we go beyond the edge that the breath tends to get captured. Inhale, slowly start to lift your way back up. Walking your hands back in. Now you're going to lift the right knee and bring that right foot beside you. Not way back here, but more here. Not as dramatic. Your left shin is parallel to your chest. I'm going to turn this way so I don't confuse you. Your left hand is going to kind of circle back behind your hip, and the right arm is going to fan open to the windows. All right, here we go. Inhale, let your arms sweep across and overhead as you tuck and lift your seat. And then as you exhale, sit down and wave the arm back. Good, continue with repetition. Inhale is going to lift you up. And the exhale brings you back down. Continue and sync with your personal breath. And maybe as you're going through this flow, being contemplative about how yoga has maybe reshaped your physical body. I know when I first started yoga, the first thing I noticed was, wow, my thighs seem more slim than they've been in the past. And then years later, I was like, oh, I actually have some biceps now. All right, and when you come back down, your hands are gonna come in front of you, but you're gonna stack onto the fingertips. Now I want you to be like water, be like a wave. We're gonna ripple up and down. So lift your heart up, lean your head back, and as you exhale, bend your arms, lower, fill the head, and then scoop the belly in, roll it up one vertebra at a time, let your head come up last, and then exhale, ripple back down. And then continue this as you breathe. Obviously, if your body awareness isn't quite in tune of how to create these undulations, or if this isn't the greatest idea for your body, you're going to keep your back straight. Then inhale, come back up. And then as we exhale, we're going to swap the sides. So the right shin will now be in front of us, left foot alongside us. Right hand's going to circle back behind the hip. Left arm is going to reach towards that back door. Good. Inhale. Tuck the tailbone and lift your weight as you sweep the arm overhead, and then exhale, come back down. And then continue with repetition like we did before. So like I said, this is a blended practice today. Let's do one more. When you come back down to your seat, hands in front of you, stack onto the fingertips. So the straight back is like this, right? Just straight back, lift up and down like a little push-up, or undulate. Creating those wavelets up and down. Feeling the fluidity that you hold within. Maybe be contemplative now on how your yoga practice, your mindfulness, your meditations have altered or shaped your mind, your attitude, your perspective of things. One more. Inhale, bring it back up. Oh, I didn't get blocks, but hopefully you have blocks. Bring blocks in front of you because you might need them. Maybe not, but you might. So bring the feet in front of you and lift your buttocks away from the floor. And when you walk your hands out in front, we're actually going to turn the knees out and clip the heels together. Yes, so if you need blocks, you can bring them in front of you. Your hands can stack on top. Now the heels are going to stay elevated the whole time. Okay, so it looks like this. Inhale, exhale. And it's kind of the Kundalini, well it is, the Kundalini version of the frog, but we're not doing it the Kundalini way. Because the Kundalini way is fast, it's rapid, and it's a little fierce. We're going to go slow because this is gentle. So inhale. And exhale, come back towards that squat. Good, and continue. Inhale. And exhale. Good. So when you're inhaling and straighten the legs, the head actually spills down. And when you exhale and bend the knees, your head actually lifts up. Again, doing this with repetition. And then if this is too much for you to stay in the exhale, stay in the squat, feel free to come down to the floor and do like a butterfly pose or a Baddha Konasana. The rest of us are going to stay on the balls of the feet. We're going to walk the arms out in front. You can also walk your blocks out in front of you. And you're dropping your head between the arms. Now there is a way to advance this pose, but I'm going to keep it gentle. Keeping it gentle will keep your hands down to gain the stability. Gaining that stability will help you to hone in on your breath and let that be the primary focus. Maybe consider how yoga has shaped you in other ways, not just mind and body. Has it shaped your relationships? And that may even be the relationship with yourself. Has it shaped your spiritual practice or changed your belief system in any way? Or enhanced it? On your next in-breath, let's bring the hands or blocks closer in. We're going to turn the knees forward, set the heels on the ground, and come into a forward fold. Now from this forward fold, I want you to have a soft bend in the knees. I want your upper body to be free. You can even give a little nodding or bobble to the head. And you can even close the lids of your eyes. So this is more of the yin form, which is called dangling. Just letting the neck feel limp. Letting the arms be loose. Soften your mouth, your jaw, your teeth, your tongue, your lips. Hold for 3 more. Hold 1. Hold 2. Hold 3. Bend the knees pretty deep. And slowly come up to a standing position, walking to the top portion of the mat if you're not there already. And once you bring your feet to the top portion of the mat, your thighs are going to roll in, push back. Your hands are going to join together to prayer position. We're going to do circle of joy from standing. So lace up your hands, exhale, extend your wrist out in front. Inhale, lift the arms overhead and try to lengthen through the elbows. And then exhale, send the hands behind your back. Lace the fingers, noticing which index fingers in between your thumbs. Roll the shoulders back. Lift the hands away from the buttocks. Bend your knees, send your tailbone back, and hinge over. When you hinge over, lifting your hands up towards the ceiling above, if that doesn't create any strain, let your head go. So it's spilling down towards your knees or shins. Good, inhale, pressurize the feet, building all the way back up to stand. Exhale, hands back to heart center, and relace on your in-breath. Exhale, extend your wrist out in front. Inhale, lift the arms up overhead. Chin stays parallel to the ground. Exhale, circle the arms behind your back and lace your hands the other way. So if your right index finger was in between, then take your left index finger in between. Roll the shoulders back. You can stay lifted if this is better for you, or bend the knees, send the tailbone back, and lower down. Inhale, apply pressure down to the soles of the feet. Let your arms help to lift you back up. And exhale, completing that circle of joy. All right, inhale, let your arms circle wide and overhead. Exhale, bring your palms together. Bow to your Uttanasana, your standing forward fold. All right, on your next inhalation, you're gonna step your left foot way back. And when you step that left foot back, you can even wiggle those toes back, keeping that front knee fairly aligned over the ankle. And this is where the blocks can come in useful, because we're gonna straighten out the front leg as we inhale. And as we exhale, we're gonna lunge the knee and look out with the eyes. Now I'm rocking my right foot up on purpose. Please don't do that unless you just want to. I'm having to do it because I strained my right ankle when I was hiking. And certain standing positions are giving me a little grief here. Let's do one more. All right, next time you come into that lunge, you're gonna spill the back knee to the floor. Please bring in that extra support or padding. Now, I do want the split occurring from the back knee to the front knee. In other words, I don't want it stacked like this, okay? I want us to be more yin with this. So let the hips get heavy, and we're gonna bring the hands to the top of the knee, and we're slowly gonna back the heart up. Now, when I come into this yin position where the hips are heavy, I start to notice my shoulders start to creep up towards my ears. Like all this tension starts to form. So drop the shoulders. And sometimes I feel like it's my hands being here that's making them creep up. So if you even want to drop your arms beside you, I find that that helps alleviate the shoulders coming up to the earlobes. And I know this is a lot. So Trisha, if you need to lean forward, it's okay. Yeah, if anybody else needs to lean forward, like if your tendencies to go there, just go there. Listen to your body. I would suggest eyes open on this one because it can get a little wobbly if you try to do it with eyes closed. All right, let's bring the hands down. I don't want it to get too intense because some of you may not be used to yin. Curl the back toes under, lift that back knee, and let your right foot come back to plank. Now on your plank position, you're gonna rock the shoulders past your wrist, and you're gonna come down, all the way down to the abdomen. And then the arms are gonna stretch out in front of you. Legs shooting back behind you. All right, here we go. Inhale, right arm, head, chest, left leg lifts. Good, exhale, descends. Inhale, swap, left arm, head, chest, right leg lifts. Good, exhale, release. Continue lifting on the in-breath, alternate limbs. And release and come down as you exhale. This is a version of the swimming locust. And forewarning, if you haven't seen any already, some of our neighbors already found a couple cicadas. So we started with right arm, head, chest, left leg. And we're gonna end left arm, head, chest, right leg. Good. Once you come down, slip your hands up underneath the shoulders. Start to roll up like you're coming into a cobra. But then once your pelvis lifts, rock back away from your hands into an extended child's pose. So keeping your hands solidified downward, elbows lifting upward, so that you're getting this stretch and traction in your arms and through your spine. Deep yogic breaths. All affirming. I release now from all outer involvements into my own inner haven of peace. Inhale, rock up hands and knees. Exhale, curl the toes, take down dog. And this is actually our first downward facing dog. If you need tabletop or puppy, you're welcome to do that as an alternative. But flatten out your fingers and really press through the roots of your index finger. Notice how that changes the shapes and the action of the arms. And slowly begin to travel the feet forward to the top of the mat. Keep the head down, Uttanasana, and then root the feet and inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, hands to hearts. And we're gonna target that other side now. So inhale, arms sweep up. Exhale, hinge forward and bow down the middle. Inhale, the right foot's gonna step back. And this is where you may need those blocks. Because we're gonna inhale, straighten the front leg. And exhale, lunge to the knee. So similar to what we were doing in that Kundalini frog variation, the head is down as we straighten the leg. The head is up as we bend the knee. And just rocking rhythmically back and forth. Shape shifting between these two positions. Once you relunge, bring the back knee to the floor and tuck the back foot and stack the hands onto the knee. Check in, see if you need that extra support. Check in to see if you can release the shoulders or if you just need the arms to hang. Concentrate your eyes on one spot in front of you. Just a few more breaths. Almost complete. You then cross compare the two sides. What's the experience between the left and the right? All right, let's set the hands to the floor, curl the back toes under, put the back knee up, send the left foot back to join. Exhale, rock forward, and come on down like you did earlier. Except now, you're gonna try something with me that you may or may not like, okay? Try it with me, and if you don't like it, you're gonna go back to what we did before, okay? Which is alternate limb, lift on the inhale, and just come all the way down on the exhale. But let's just give it a go. Arms stretch out, legs stretch back. Inhale, locust. Okay, don't be overly dramatic, because we're gonna do a swimming locust, right? So right arm, head, chest, left leg lifts higher. Exhale, hover. Inhale, left arm, head, chest, right leg lifts higher. Exhale, you're still hovering. If you don't like the hovering, go back to that original format in that previous flow, okay? But notice when you hover and then lift, it's gonna give you more work in your glutes, more strength in your back. But I also want you to be aware that it's good core strength as well. And hard to talk. We started with right arm, left leg. So in with left arm, right. Come down to your brow. Slip your hands up underneath your shoulders. You're rolling the shoulders back, pushing down through your palms to come up like cobra but then we move the hips back. Now, you're gonna circle the arms around your body this time, palms open at your feet. Taking a different formation of Balasana. Feel the difference. Before, we were creating traction, length, a deep stretch, and now we're getting passive. The spine creates more of an egg or tear shape. Can help you to become a little bit more introspective. And the affirmation remains the same. I release and relax now from all outer involvements into my own inner haven peace. How has life shaped you? How has your yoga practice shaped you? I'm going to do one more downward facing dog, but I want you to explore this with me. First of all, just stretch your arms out in front of you, where your elbows are up, but your head is lowered. Now pick up your face, look down the lane of your mat. And I want you to lengthen one hand and arm forward, and then the other one forward, and move back and forth a couple times so that you have a really deep, deep, deep stretch here. Then rock up. Now, typically when we go into that extended form, when you come up, your hands are just beyond your shoulders. If they're not quite beyond the shoulders, then step them forward so that when you curl the toes and lift into your downward facing dog, you're in a better alignment. Coming to down dog from an exact tabletop position is generally too short. You need a little bit more space between the hands and feet. Good, let's all take a cleansing breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Now come down to your knees again, keeping your toes curled, but walk your hands closer to your body. All right, so if you need to lean into your fist or come forward over your lap, you can stay here. This will make it more gentle. But if you want to try erecting the spine, ooh, way more intense. And some days I can't really do this because I have something called bunions. And then those bone structure really hurts. You're actually okay right now. Be kind to yourself. Waking up the feet, the fascia of the feet. All right. Sticking with gentle. This isn't a pure yin class. So bring the hands forward. Untuck the toes. And just see if you can sit on your heels. Told you guys, ever since I got back from India, every teacher did this several times in a practice. And I don't think we do it enough here. This is an important pose. Please bring a block. Thank you. You already did it. That works too. Now, if you're sitting on a block, you may not be able to do this next maneuver. Don't worry about it because you're already stretching the fronts of your feet, right? But if you're sitting here pretty well, send your hands behind your back, and you're gonna float your knees and shins off the ground. Stretching the front sides. That can be a lot too. And then push away from the hands to bring the knees back down. And then we'll shift the feet out to the side. We're gonna lower down to our backs and bring the knees to tuck into the chest again. Bring your arms out to the sides and let your knees gently lower to the left. Doing the simple supine twist. So back in 2020, when all the changes hit, and I had to close the business, and then I moved back to Nashville, and everything about my foundation just was swept away. And I started having severe low back. And I was still doing yoga. I was still producing classes. So it wasn't that I wasn't doing the yoga, but it was all of life and things that were impacting me that eventually led me to a chiropractor. And he took an x-ray of me. He was like, your whole pelvis is twisted. I'm like, of course it is. Because that's the way I feel. And when I would take a supine twist, this is where I could really see it in my body. Because one side, the knees would be perfectly stacked, and then I would twist to the other side, and there would be this massive gap. But I used not only the chiropractic adjustments, but I would focus on the poses where I could feel that difference and how it was impacting that area that I was trying to recorrect or heal. And then I would just focus on that as often as possible. And so this is how you can use yoga in a medicinal way to reshape you if life ricochets you in a different direction. Now, as you're centering with your breath, feel the right side of your belly expand. Feel the right side of your chest expand. You may even feel your right shoulder slightly lift. And all lowers. Good. Inhale. Draw the knees back through the middle. And send them over to the opposite side and see if you can notice the difference. Maybe you do notice a difference in the space between the legs. Maybe you do notice a difference in what you're experiencing sensation-wise in your back. Where has life impacted you? What have you been housing and storing that has created the shape for your body? Firm internally to yourself. I welcome a new flow of life force energy. Move within. And opening myself up to a new flow of life force energy within. I know a lot of you in here have already been through this phase, but Jen and I are going through it right now. And Morgan is actually going through it as well. We have our babies about to graduate. Even though we may grieve this process, this next phase that we're entering is empty nesters, giving our children wings to fly. That mourning process may eventually develop into celebration and a newfound freedom for us. How has life shaped you? Beautiful. Since the twist helped it open the 7 chakras, I'm not really worried about an inversion today. But if you feel like you want an inversion today, feel free to unwind from the twist, use a block to go to supported bridge or waterfall. And if you find that, yeah, I just want to move into Shavasana, then grab some props and utilize them. Even if it's just a bolster plugged in underneath your thighs and knees. If you're moving towards that supported bridge or waterfall, you could also try a bolster underneath your sacrum. And stretching your legs out, that form of bridge. I'll let you decide. I do want to encourage you guys, if you're not already trained well with Shavasana, which I know most of you are, but if you have a trouble calming your mind, settling into this pause that we take at the end of our practice, I highly encourage the towels that's provided here, or even purchasing an eye pillow, because the weight of an eye bag on your brow has been shown scientifically to calm the vagus nerve. Just as the natives take pause before they enter into the canyon. I want you to notice how we take pause at the beginning of our practice to center, to prepare, but how we take a longer pause at the end to receive and to absorb, to be in reverence of this practice and the benefits that it offers. So look at this space as being your sacred ground in which we can gather. Look at your mat as being your sacred ground for your personal practice. But now move into your heart, which is that sacred place within.
deep and flow in my brain. Once you activate your pranayama, activate a little movement in your body. Once you get a little bit more enlivened, feel free to curl in. Roll to one side. You find a comfortable seat. We'll close our practice and then I have something else to share, okay? Bring your hands to Anjali prayer position. May we all be enriched from this practice. And may we all take the lessons learned on the mat off. And may we continue to live and be an example of true yoga. So we're going to demonstrate practicing that yoga. We're going to send some love. I'm going to cry. I'm such a crier. I literally discovered right when I rolled up this morning that Carlos lost his spot. And he's been a student of mine for 15 years. And he started coming to the original studio because he took yoga at a church with my friend Anna. And I don't know, something told him to come to Half Moon. And so he came to Half Moon and he liked the spiritual approach, he liked the affirmations. And so he stopped going to the church and started coming to Half Moon. He started off 2 days a week, he upped 3 days a week, he upped 4 days a week, and he was coming 5 days a week. One of the most disciplined students I've ever seen. He's in his mid-80s and his wife started developing dementia in 2018 maybe. I know it was a good year before the pandemic hit. And so slowly his classes started to pull back and he's been online with me since 2021. But anyway, I just found out his wife just passed. They haven't posted it. They're, still figuring out arrangements and all of that. Once I find out arrangements, if it's open to the public, I will post it on the Facebook page. So if anybody wants to maybe attend or whatever, I do have his address. If anybody would like to send him a card, I'm happy to share that with you. I'm sure he would love some support from the yoga community. Anyway, we used to always give own baths to people who were sick or recovering from surgery or dealing with loss such as this. And he lives in Nolansville and we're already facing east. So let's send him 3 ohms. His children are in town and with him right now, which is really great. Let's bring the hands together. Create that heat and friction, awaken that energy that we've just poured into this practice. Think about the light and the love that you hold in your heart, that you can share with him and his family. Bring your arms up. Feel that departing from your hands and breathe in. And third, breathing in.
Her name was Julie. And, before she developed dementia, if you ever followed them online, they were such an active couple. Traveling, and I think they had like, season tickets to TPAC and Symphony, and